Well, I happened to notice this thread on Twitter the other day from NYC Angry Mom. NYC Angry Mom is one of my favorite people to follow because she's a former lefty like me that kind of saw the insanity going on in New York City during the pandemic and all this stuff. And it really woke her up. And I just love her perspective so much. Her handle on Twitter is Angry Brooklyn Mom, ANGRYBKLYN Mom. And she posted this thread that I just wanted to take a minute to comment on because I do think that it's really important for anyone that is waking up, leaving the left, thinking about walking away from the Democratic Party because I know better than almost any person on the planet that when you leave the Democratic Party, it feels like the only option you have available to you is the Republican Party and the conservatives, and you feel like you need to make compromises for what you believe in order to have a home. And I want you guys to hear from me that that is just not true. That's just not true. There are other options. You don't have to compromise yourself in order to fit in. Now, for those of you, before we get into this, for those of you who don't know my background, about 2 years ago, I went on a journey. I was a Democrat for 20 years from the time I was 18 years old. And I started noticing that my party seemed to have gone off the rails. And I started challenging myself to listen to people outside the party to see, did I really disagree with them? Were they really the monsters that they had taught me they were? And I'll talk a little bit more about that journey in a second, but it culminated with me accidentally, very publicly leaving the Democratic Party and then going on a whirlwind journey where I ended up as a Republican for about 15 minutes. And now I'm in the Mises Caucus in the Libertarian Party. And what I wanted to talk to you about was that journey in the context of a political evolution and trying to figure out where your home is. Because a lot of people, if you leave the Democratic Party publicly, hopefully not as publicly as I accidentally did, by the way, but a lot of people are going to tell you what you should do and where you should go and who you should vote for. And I just want to tell you right now that the only thing, if you are on this political journey, this political evolution, the only thing that you really need to worry about is yourself and figuring out what you believe and keeping an open mind. Do not allow a title or a tribe get in your way of figuring out what you believe. So what I want to do in this video is I want to talk about this thread from Angry Mom. I'll read you a response that I wrote to it, and then I want to talk about my journey. And I've kind of done this before in other videos, but I don't think I've ever done it in this complete a way. And of course, now I have the benefit of almost 2 years of hindsight, which is even much more different than what I had with the benefit of 1 year of hindsight. So that's what I want to do in this video. But before we get into that, guys, just so you know, I do commentary on news, politics, culture, social justice, wokeness, walking away from the Democratic Party. I post content almost every single day of the week, except on Saturdays when I take it off. If you like what I have to offer, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel today, turning on notifications, giving it a thumbs up, leaving a comment, letting me know what you think. And the other thing I would love for you to do is to join me in my Locals community. Locals is the only place on the internet where we're not censored. Of course, it was created by Dave Rubin, the original Walkaway. But it's a place for us to have authentic human engagement. You don't have to pay any money to join. You can join for free at kb.locals.com. It's in the ticker. It's also right here. Bing. If you do want to support the work I'm doing, you can head over to kb.locals.com/support, where you can become a monthly member for $5 a month, less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. You can become an annual member for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. Or you can make a one-time gift. I do support the work I'm doing primarily through my Locals, and I would really, 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 really like to get 100 new supporters in Locals by the end of the year. If you've been waiting, we've got so much cool stuff planned for 2020 and 2022. Oh my gosh, 2020 is like 2 years ago. We got so much cool stuff planned for 2022. I cannot wait to continue to build out the Locals community. So please make sure you join. All right, let's look at this thread from NYC Angry Mom. I speak to a lot of liberals who agree that the COVID regime has gone too far, but simply find Republicans too unpalatable to vote for. Take with a grain of salt, but this is my advice. No political party cares about us. There is simply no reason to have allegiance to a party who has not held up their side of the bargain. Lifetimes are long. Whatever decisions we make in the voting booth next year does not have to be the same as the decision we make permanently. There may be the worst crisis we've ever experienced in our lifetimes. If you value the human condition, basic civil liberties, and giving our children a full existence, that does not revolve around avoiding one single virus among a sea of threats. We must vote accordingly. I do not align to the political right. I do not see a vote against COVID authoritarianism to be a permanent shift in my politics. I am voting according to my personal values and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I think that that is a perfectly fair position. Listen, in 2020, I voted for Republicans for the first time in my life. Never thought in my life I would vote for Republicans. And I don't regret that vote. I don't. But I'll never vote for Republicans again. Sorry. Now don't judge too quickly. I'm not voting for Democrats either. Not voting for either of the parties at the moment. I'm leaving the door open to the fact that someone might come in and convince me that they have earned my vote, but I don't feel a need to vote for either of them, and I'm going to explain why in this video. But before we get into that, I want to show you my response to NYC Angry Mom. I said, you don't have to become a Republican if you admit the left is insane. You don't have to become a conservative if you admit the left is insane. You don't have to vote for Trump when he inevitably runs in 2024 if you admit the left is insane. Just walk away. You don't have to have a tribe. I'd almost like to just take the voting out of it for a second. Take the voting out of it. Do you believe that the Democratic Party is behaving responsibly in this country right now? I don't. I don't in any way believe they're behaving responsibly. Inflation is going through the roof. Biden has full-on dementia. No one is acknowledging it. Kamala Harris isn't doing anything except cackling in the VP's office and doing press in order to cover for that expose that CNN did about her office being toxic. Democrats aren't behaving responsibly. The Democrats didn't behave responsibly all throughout 2020 when they fanned the flames of fear for a virus that has a 98% survival rate. Democrats weren't behaving responsibly all throughout 2020 when they stroked the flames of riots, literal riots, and looting, and fires, and all of this stuff, destruction of major cities, $2 billion in property damage, and they called it a mostly peaceful protest. There are a lot of reasons to be outraged by the Democrats, and I share that outrage. But what I want you to hear is that acknowledging that they are acting insane does not require you to vote Republican. It doesn't. Now, if you end up there and you find out that your values do align with them and that your values align with the candidates, then by all means, give them your vote. That's the way it should work. That's what you should do. But the right's not behaving responsibly either. The right before the election, everyone was happy. It was a big tent. They welcomed everyone and they loved walkaways like me before the election. Since the inauguration, the right has lost their damn minds. And this makes me so sad. I really hoped that this wouldn't be the case. I'm going to explain why on my journey. I really hoped that this wouldn't be the case, but sadly, this is where we are. I do not perceive the Republican Party to be anything different than the Republican Party that I hated in the 1990s. Not right now. And it's their own dang fault. So, how did I get to this place? You know, I take a lot of crap on the internet for being a member of 3 different parties within the span of like a year and a half. You know, oh, she's grifting. Oh, she's just changing her status. It's just a grift. Blah, blah, blah. No. I left the Democratic Party in February of 2020. I left it because I didn't feel that they aligned with my values any longer. Now, I didn't jump on the Trump train immediately. I didn't even like Trump until like September of 2020, August or September, something like that. Whenever he wrote the executive order banning critical race theory in the federal government, that was when Trump won my support. But for all of 2020, I was an independent. I said repeatedly, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a conservative. Because I do have very sincere differences with conservatives. I do not like that they push their religion on other people. I do not like that they're fine with protecting speech, except if it's speech that they disagree with, and then they start engaging in cancel culture, which they've been doing a lot of lately. I do not like I'm pro-choice. I'm just saying I'm pro-choice. I don't like abortion. I would be in favor of implementing what I think is a common sense first trimester limit with exceptions for, assault and life of the mother and all that. But I'm pro-choice. I don't believe there's anything wrong with investing in environmentally friendly technologies. I don't believe that there's anything wrong with discussions of race when in the classroom and in regards to teaching history. Now, I'm not in favor of critical race theory, but I'm also not in favor of not acknowledging that racism is a thing. So I have many differences with the Republicans and with the conservatives. I do. And so all throughout 2020, I had a very public profile of being someone who accidentally left the Democratic Party very publicly. People think that this was an overnight decision for me to leave the Democratic Party. It wasn't. People think that so essentially what happened if you're new and you have no idea about like how I ended up here. I essentially went to a Trump rally in February 2020 as a Democrat of 20 years and had such a great time and wrote an article about it on the internet thinking no one would ever read it. I posted it on medium.com. First day it got like a couple hundred views. The next day it had like millions. I didn't expect it to go viral. So I publicly left the Democratic Party and I joined the Walkaway campaign and I started touring around the country with the Walkaway campaign, encouraging other people to leave the Democratic Party and yes, encouraging people to vote for Donald Trump because between the choices of Joe Biden and Trump, Trump is the more liberal candidate. Sorry, he was. And I consider myself to be a liberal. Trump was the saner of the two options because Joe Biden is not well. Joe Biden has dementia. Joe Biden ain't running nothing. And so I traveled around the country doing rallies every single week with the Walkaway campaign. And I have no regrets about any of that. The Walkaway campaign is awesome. And I fully believe in it. I fully believe in it and I think it's going to come back and I think it's going to do a lot of good in the world. Please pray for Brandon Straka. His sentencing is coming up. I think it's going to be fine. But then after the election, there was a question for me. There was a question of, well, first off, what was the outcome of the election, which Joe Biden is the president. Whether we like it or agree with it or think it was the fair and just outcome, Joe Biden is the president. The day after the election, I made a video begging the right not to become the monsters they were fighting because I had a really good experience with MAGA people. I had an amazing experience with MAGA people all throughout 2020. Super nice people, super warm, super accepting. After the inauguration, and maybe because they were feeling really scared because they felt like the whole world was coming down on them because of January 6th, everything changed. Everything changed. But I had in my head something that Blair White talked about at a walkaway debate in Fort Lauderdale. It was a walkaway LGBT debate. It's on YouTube somewhere. You should go watch it. It's really good. But Blair White talked about how you should, the Republican Party wasn't perfect, but that the only way you could change it was to be a part of it and to change it from the inside. And I really thought about that and I really internalized that. And that was the thing that convinced me to very briefly join the Republican Party. Because I said, you know what, the Democrats are insane. The Republicans are like the only other option that I have. And I can't change it from the outside. I have to if I believe in this and I believe that this populist MAGA movement is something that's important to preserve, then I have to put my money where my mouth is and join the Republican Party. And I got to tell you guys, I felt dirty. I did. The minute that I filled out that form at town hall, I felt dirty. Now, that's not to be any offense to any Republicans that might be watching this, because again, I think that everyone has to do the thing that's best for them, but that never felt like a good fit for me. But I went along with it. I was like, this is just something you need to get used to. And I also kind of, by the way, this was around the same time I participated in a debate on Elijah Schaffer's channel, Slightly Offensive, when Lauren Witzke, the former Senate nominee, Republican Senate nominee in Delaware, was one of the panelists. And I hate Lauren Witzke. I think that woman is a psychopath. And she had been tweeting me like, Carlin, you will never be a Republican. And I said, oh yeah, Lauren, here's the paper that says I'm a Republican. Because sometimes I like to troll people like that. But the truth of the matter is I never really felt at home with that decision. I never really felt at peace with that decision. It never felt like the right home for me. And I think that this is an important thing to acknowledge. When you're on a political journey like this, you might make mistakes. Listen, man, I call my brief month and a half stint in the Republican Party my one night stand, because it really did seem like a good idea at the time. It did. It seemed like a great idea after I'd had a lot of beer and had my beer goggles on. I was like, "Oh my god, this is the best." And I woke up the next morning and I was like, "That wasn't such a good idea." It happens. It happens. We're human beings. We make mistakes. But another interesting thing happened to me. I had been kind of paying attention to the Libertarian Party, but the fact of the matter is that when their presidential candidate in 2020, Joe Jorgensen, tweeted Black Lives Matter, there was no way I was going to support the Libertarian Party after that. There was no way. Absolutely not. Not in any way. Even though all throughout 2020, I had people telling me, like, Carlin, you're really a libertarian. You're really a libertarian. You're really a libertarian. I was like, yeah, that's probably true, but the Libertarian Party sucks. So why would I support them? But then a funny thing happened. There were these two guys. Well, first off, the first funny thing that happened is, so you guys know there are a lot of libertarians in New Hampshire, right? So the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire held its state convention. And this dude who I hated, named Nick Sarwark, who was the chair of the National Party for like a long time, probably is the reason that the National Party sucks so bad. He lives in New Hampshire and he was running for treasurer of the state party. And the Libertarians always have an option on the ballot for none of the above. So when Nick Sarwark, this dude who probably has done more to make the Libertarian Party suck than almost anyone else on the planet, when he was running for treasurer of the state party, he was the only person running for treasurer, and they had a choice between him and none of the above. And they voted none of the above. And the minute that it happened, I started getting text messages from like state reps, be like, Carla, did you hear what happened at the Libertarian Party convention? I was like, holy hell, what's going on? What is going on with the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire? And not too long after that, I had two guys, shout out Eric and Ben, who were recruiters for the Mises Caucus. Now, I had never heard of the Mises Caucus. The Mises Caucus is a group within the Libertarian Party that is trying to bring the Ron Paul revolution back to the Libertarian Party. They're trying to make the Libertarians libertarian again. And so Eric and Ben reached out to me, and Victor and I met them for a beer and a very giant pretzel at a bar. They gave me this pamphlet, an old school print pamphlet. And inside this pamphlet was their platform, was the things that they were most concerned with. Plank 1, property rights. Plank 2, economics. Plank 3, money. Plank 4, decentralization. Plank 5, war. Plank 6, lifestyle choices. Plank 7, identity politics. Plank 8, omissions, which just basically means that if they didn't cover one of their issues, one of your favorite issues in their top planks, then that was just something that wasn't going to be one of their top priorities. We believe in the right to property is natural and self-evident. We ascribe to the Austrian School of Economics, We reject all state intervention into money as in currency. That's about abolishing the Fed. We recognize that freedom of association manifests itself politically in the form of absolute right of self-determination. We advocate for the abolition of the empire, including ending the terror war, bringing all troops home, and closing all foreign bases. We take no stance on the personal, cultural, or social preferences of individuals or groups. We categorically reject all forms of identity politics and nothing more than weaponized tribal collectivism that is antithetical to individualism. This spoke to me. And I came home and I read it and I thought about it and I started consuming Mises Caucus content. And wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? There was actually a segment of the Libertarian Party that was talking like libertarians, that was talking like people I identified with. And so I went to a meetup and another meetup, and there were so many people there. It was ridiculous. It felt so good to see all these people kind of gather together that agreed with this stuff. And that's when I made the decision that that was the political home that I was supposed to find. Now it's a little inconvenient. I had just registered in the Republican Party. I mean, like within the last month. Now, in the state of New Hampshire, what you can do though is you can actually be a libertarian and a Republican at the same time because libertarians don't have ballot access. So I actually, for a brief time, I was actually both a member of the Republican Party and the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. But I ended up leaving the Republican Party to just, do the libertarian thing. All I had to do was deregister and become an independent again. And, I have no regrets about this. And people are saying Carlin's grifting. Dude, have you ever heard of a stupider idea in your life than grifting on the Libertarian Party? I haven't received a single check. Not one single check. So yeah, within a year and a half, I went from being a Democrat of 20 years to leaving the Democratic Party and becoming an independent for almost all of 2020 to joining the Republican Party for a month and a half to joining the Libertarian Party in the Mises Caucus only because of the Mises Caucus. And, you know, even if you don't find value in either the Republican Party or the Mises Caucus or any other political party that exists out there, what I want you to hear is that your political journey is yours and do not feel the need to compromise to try to be something that you're not. The Republicans and the conservatives are going to try to convince you that they are your only option. They are not. They are not. I firmly believe that one of the biggest problems we are facing in this country is the flipping two-party system, where you only have extremes on either side. You can make the choice not to buy into it. Andrew Yang's making the choice not to buy into it. He's doing his whole thing. Join Andrew Yang's party, you know? But I guess I wanted people to hear from someone who has walked this journey rather messily, that whatever your journey is, that's okay. That's okay. I feel really good about where I'm at right now. I love the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. I love the Mises Caucus. They are my people. Never gonna win a damn election. I know. I know. Never gonna win an election. That's okay. It's okay to be an independent. It's okay to join a third party. It's okay to say that you do not buy into this two-party system. It's okay to ignore every single person who's telling you you have to do this or you have to do that. You don't have to be anything other than who you are. One of the most important things is just acknowledging that the left is insane. We can just start there. And then let the rest take care of itself. Listen to a variety of content, listen to a variety of perspectives. Listen to people who you thought were the worst, most vile people in the history of the world. Keep an open mind. See if they really are. Sometimes they will be, but a lot of times they won't be. The fact of the matter is, and I'll say this, I've poo-pooed conservatives and Republicans a little bit, but I'll throw them a bone at the end. Like, they're really nice people. Conservatives and Republicans are generally really nice people. They're really nice people who are very slow to change, who don't like to consider oftentimes perspectives that are outside their own. They have very rigid mindsets, but frankly, the left does too. If I had to choose between Republicans and Democrats, I'd probably choose Republicans. I think Republicans are more responsible. But the fact of the matter is that you are not obligated to choose. And the Republicans should not get your vote by default because they haven't done anything to earn it. Republican politicians are the worst. They are the worst. If you leave the left, you might think the Republicans are always on offense. Dude, after you leave the left, you're going to find out they are the worst. They really are. Republicans vote for awful candidates. But you don't have to allow their bad choices to force you to vote for someone you don't want to vote for. I voted Republican in 2020, and I have no regrets about that. It was absolutely the right thing to do at the time. For me, and for me only, I do not think I'm going to be voting for either major party moving forward, unless someone does something to earn my vote. You always have to leave space for that. You always have to keep an open mind, but that's where I'm at right now. I think that neither party has done anything to earn my vote. They're too focused on bickering with each other. And until enough people stand up and acknowledge that these two parties are doing nothing to earn our votes and are just interested in fighting back and forth all day, every day with nonsense, until enough people stand up and acknowledge that we do not have to buy into this two-party system, then nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. So if you're feeling politically homeless, what I want you to hear is that it's okay. It's okay to feel politically homeless. It's okay to be on a journey where you're figuring out what you believe. But don't allow anyone to make you feel like you have to do a certain thing. Do it when you're ready. I found these guys when I was ready for them. And I have no regrets. None at all. And maybe some of you guys would like them too. Who knows? Who knows? But maybe some of you wouldn't. There's a lot of reasons single libertarian parties messed up, let's just be honest. There are. The message I want you to hear is that your political journey is yours. It is no one else's, and you don't have any obligation to anyone else but yourself. That's it, guys. If you'd like to talk to me more about this, you can join my locals. We do 2 Zoom calls every single week. I spend about 6 hours on Zoom every week with my locals. But that's all I have for right this second anyway. Take care, guys. We'll see you soon.